The report found that both NUM and AMCU didn't do enough, although Joseph Matunjwa, you were personally praised in the report for trying as much as you could have. What is your reaction to that? Do you think that you could have and should have, as two unions, done more?
We note the criticism by the Commission, to be honest, that we didn't do enough during that time. But we felt that there was an agreement in place, a 2-year agreement in place, and then there were non-striking workers who wanted to go to work, and Loanmin was putting pressure on them. And as the NUM, we cannot allow a situation where our members will be dismissed. So the problem was Loanmin on the other side, forcing our members to go, non-striking workers to go to work. And that was our problem.
It is not correct to say AMCU marched to NUM. Did I hear it correctly? Yeah. AMCU never marched to your office. Your members marched to you after being directed by Loanmin to say your office know about your increment. So where was AMCU then? So that is not correct.
No, I do not agree with Mr. Matunjwa. The report did say that AMCU members who marched to the NUM offices, the AMCU members who marched to the NUM offices were found NUM members also armed. And the Commission said that the criticism is valid because these guys were heavily armed, and then also NUM members were forced to arm themselves. And then the Commission did say that it is valid for the criticism is valid for the NUM members to arm themselves.
Mr. Matunjwa was not agreeing with you. He's shaking his head.
I think for the fact that even there was a 2-year agreement that NUM signed, but if the workers suggest that their salaries agreed or the increment agreed is no longer meeting their daily needs, it is incumbent of the union to go back to the employer and engage the employer. As you'll understand, on the night of the 15th, their then president, who is the Minister of Fisheries or Forestry, I don't know, what is he? So he then said to the workers, you have to report to work before the police do their work. I mean, what kind of a leader of a union can simply say without listening to the cries of their own members?
Does your union leader not listen to the cries of its members, as per Mr. Matunjwa?
They did. Our leaders went there, and then the workers did not want NUM at that particular moment. What was the NUM supposed to do? We can't force members when the workers at that particular moment, when they did not want NUM. We have to be very careful when we're dealing with a pathological liar like Mr. Matunjwa.
Oh.
Now, I'm being honest. Because he's saying that where did you meet? Where have we heard about the operational plan? And I'm saying that Mr. Eric Gelichan, who was part of the NUM in Rustenburg, they did meet with Loanmin and other stakeholders, briefing them about the operation plan. So that is where we had it. And I also want to talk about this issue here of the game plan, game changer. That is being...
which stakeholders
that is being seen as the truth
by
Mr. Matunjwa. So I want to read exactly from the Commission report about this game changer thing and what the Commission said. No, can I be given a chance to speak?
Yes, read the section about the game changer.
It says the Commission found that on the 11th of August 2012, the strikers who marched to the NUM office at Western Platinum mine did so with violent intent, armed with an array of dangerous weapons. In those circumstances, the Commission found that the actions of the NUM and members in that office of arming themselves with an assortment of weapons to protect their office and person cannot be criticized, especially in the light of the information conveyed by the Loanmin security officers and the short time with which the events occurred. And the Commission rejected the argument by the council, Mr. Mpofu, for the injured and the arrested person, of that the shooting of the 2 strikers at the NUM office on the 11th of August was a so-called game changer, and stating that the first game changer was the decision by the strikers to enforce the unprotected strike by violence and intimidation. And we saying as the NUM that we welcome the recommendation for further investigation of the shooting on that day, and maintains that the NUM officials and members acted within the parameters of private defense. we welcome that investigation to happen.
So that
Because
was not AMCU
there are
members.
lies that Mr. Matunja is saying that NUM is the one who's responsible and is the game changer. That is not true.
So there was no AMCU members march to your office, was strikers now.
Yes.
Can you agree on
Yes,
that?
I can correct that. The
Oh,
strikers
okay.
march to that. I can.
Mr. Tegishane was part of this meeting where the plan, he disagreed with the plan because there is no other stakeholders where we were called and the plan was discussed. It's only NUM and Tegishane who was sitting in that plan.
He doesn't listen.
Mr. Pathologist,
I'm saying he doesn't listen. That's why I'm saying it's a pathological lie. He is. And
Mr.
I'm not gonna.
No, let's not resort to
No,
calling each other
No,
names.
the point is
No,
you
no,
are
that's
saying
not true.
Mr. Kagichana was in the stakeholders meeting where the plan was discussed and he disagreed with the plan. And then the question is, where was that stakeholders meeting held? Because we're part of the stakeholders, but we're not part of that meeting. That's a question. So where am I lying, Mr. Pathology?
Mr. Matunjwa, you know yourself that you were not attending some of the meetings.
Yes, because I was not part of.
You see, he was not attending
the
some of the
matter.
meetings.
Yeah,
He
I
was not attending
invited.
some of the meetings.
Yes, I was not invited.
So
Advocate
you must
Mpofu.
stop lying.
I'm not
Because I was
lying.
briefed
I'm
by people.
asking.
No. You must stop lying, Mr. Matunjwa.
Where have I lied?
Because
I'm asking
no,
where
no,
was the
what I'm
meeting?
saying is this.
Can you move
Yeah,
the
I think we should move beyond.